second.
Oh, okay.
Did it go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right.
Wait.
Who wants to share first?
I could go first. I don't mind. Let me make sure I know what I have to say. Text to self. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I did my blog on To Kill a Mockingbird. And so I like what's really important about this is like it really tests like racism and the discussion of it, which is like I related it a lot to like when I read it in high school, and there were so many like things I would have done differently. Something that like doesn't sit well with me to this day is that my teacher like said the N-word while he was reading in front of the class, and that like was so, I just think like so wrong. And he like, yeah, he just like basically was like, oh, just so you know, this word is in here, but I'm still gonna read it, basically, and like totally just brushed it aside and like acted like it was no big deal. So that's like why I thought it was important to choose this book to like kind of re-evaluate how to teach it. Have you guys all read this, To Kill a Mockingbird? Yeah. Oh no, you guys haven't.
You haven't?
I haven't.
Wow.
No. Yeah, I know.
So basically it's about this like these two kids, Scout and Jem, and their father Atticus, and they live in Alabama. And their father Atticus is a lawyer, and he basically like is in charge of like this case with this African American Tom Robinson because he was accused of raping a white woman, but that was proven not to be true. But they still like basically the court still voted Tom Robinson to be guilty for it. And then they got him back in jail, he tried to run away, and then they just shot him on the scene. And so that's basically like to sum it up. So some common themes that were happening throughout were prejudice. Prejudice is probably the most like the most staple part of this whole novel. I just said prejudice is the most obvious theme throughout the novel because of the multiple examples of Tom being mistreated by white people. Through the trial, we see how unfair the treatment towards Tom is, even when Atticus shows evidence that proved Tom innocent, the all-white jury still convicts him. This shows the double standard between race and example of white privilege. And then there was also like a contrast between good and evil because like Atticus and Scout and Jem, they were like the good in their community, and everyone else was just like racist and like just only saw like African American people to be like the enemy. And so there's a lot of conflict back and forth between them. And then the importance of empathy and perspective. Atticus like tries to teach Scout and Jem like the lesson of like seeing things from other people's perspective, and like that will also lead to having empathy. And I just said at the end, the last sentence, this is a great lesson to experiment with empathy and have students broaden their outlook on other people's feelings. So I think there's like a lot you could do, especially with middle schoolers, like with this idea. And then some outside resources. I just found some that talk about like color blindness, and like then this article is an article about like other like it's like 10 different stories of like African Americans facing like racism and how they came back from that. And then some community members. These are I'll just read like what I wrote under it. With all, what all these people have in common is they are all advocates for African American community within literature. Students and teachers would benefit from hearing from them because it opens up a different perspective for students and educates and educators to think about. By hearing firsthand experiences, it puts the issue of racism into perspective for students, showing them that there are still people who continue to suffer from it to this day. But yeah, those are all just like famous authors or advocates. And then some quotes that I found. I'll just read like one of them. Let's see. Like this first quote really goes back to like the empathy and seeing people's perspective theme. You will never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. sir, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. So yeah, that was a very prominent theme throughout. Let me go back to the website to see. Yeah, but that's basically the summary of my story for the novel.
Yeah, it's been a while since I read that, so it's
Yeah, do you guys have any questions or need clarification?
I'm trying to remember, like, if when we read it, our teacher said the N word when reading it, and I almost feel like she did, and I just felt like, how are you just even comfortable like saying that, especially to like
Yeah.
younger kids when you're trying to get rid of the word just in
Yeah.
general, and then you're like, well, it's in here and you can't say it, but I'm gonna say it. So it's like
Yeah.
almost makes it seem like, oh, so when I'm an adult, it's okay to say it. Like,
Yeah.
no.
yeah, I know for a fact that my teacher definitely didn't say it
Oh,
because she
really?
probably would have lost her job if she had, because
Mhm.
we were a pretty mixed school.
I didn't read To Kill a Mockingbird, but I read another book with the N word in it, and my teacher said it, and it I don't know, it's just like uncomfortable to hear. Like as an educator, I feel like I wouldn't be comfortable sharing that. Like I feel like some words are okay in the classroom, like we have to use some mature
Basic
language sometimes.
swearing, but
Yeah, like mature language, but like
Yeah.
stuff like that is like where we like, okay, that's a little bit too much.
I know, like, and I just think like if it made me uncomfortable and I'm white, like imagine like the other kids
Yeah.
who were like black in the classroom and like they probably were so uncomfortable.
hmm
But yeah. So any other clarifications, other things?
Did you hear about the second book that she wrote, where it was revealed that her father, Atticus, wasn't actually that great anyway?
Oh, really? Wait, what's the second book called?
I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head, but there was a second one, and it was like Atticus Finch wasn't that great. And
Oh,
the evidence for it was that she still had Calpurnius sleep in the kitchen and stuff.
oh, interesting. Wow. Okay, let's stop.
So
here.
that was a required reading for all you guys, like in school.
Yeah,
Mhm.
When did you guys have to read it?
freshman
8th
year.
grade? Oh.
8th grade?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
I
8th
don't know why
grade.
I never read it then. No, I went to school in Wisconsin for a little bit. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's not in their curriculum. But yeah.
Yeah.
I can go next if no one
Okay.
else wants to. Let me share the screen really quick. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the book I chose was The Outsiders by Susan E. Hinton. Has anyone not read The Outsiders?
I haven't read it.
I haven't read it.
Really?
I've
I've
heard
never heard
Wow.
of it, really.
So this is my To Kill a Mockingbird because I had to read it when I was in school. So everyone in like Wisconsin schools, to my knowledge, have read this book. So basically, I'll sum it up really quick for those of you. There's also a movie adaptation that's really good. I'd recommend watching. But to sum it up, pretty much, it's a class battle between greasers and like rich boys. They call them socials. It's just a story about drama in the greaser life, the family life, how sometimes relationships between classes can intermingle, intertwine. Basically, the story just leads up to what is called the Rumble, and it's pretty much just all the greasers and all the socias. Is that what they call them? They just have a big fight. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much the gist of it. It's just a story about a bunch of teenagers and young adults who are stuck in kind of like a gang toxic cycle. So there are a couple major themes throughout the book, like gang, peer pressure, and whatnot. But I wanted to focus on kind of the less prominent stuff, but I feel like it was still important. So I looked at wealth inequality. The greasers are obviously really poor. They're born into poor families. They don't really have a lot, whereas the socials are born into rich homes, and they have no control over it. It's just based on how much money their parents have. So it kind of shows the difference between how class can really have an impact on your life and the people around you and whatnot. And then another theme that I noticed was the toxic cycle theme. So a lot of the members of Pony Boy's crew, Pony Boy's the main character, a lot of the members of his greaser gang are his family, like his older brother Derry. And you kind of see like a repeating cycle. It's almost an example I use, just like children who come from abused homes typically raise their own abusive homes. That's kind of what it's like here. So as Derry is kind of like a degenerate almost. He's a greaser. Pony Boy's born, he's going to fall into that toxic cycle trait. A good example about the battle between the classes or like wealth inequality that can apply like today is the Occupy Wall Street movement of 2011. I'm not going to play the video because it's really laggy and I don't want to put you guys through that. But basically, it's a bunch of protesters marching. They're yelling, you know, we're the 99%, take down Wall Street, whatever. And then the 1%, all the rich people are up on the balcony and they're just drinking champagne and
I
laughing
think
and
I've seen
smiling.
photos from that.
It's honestly tough to watch. It's kind of gross, but yeah. So that's an example I used. And then I have a couple quotes, but the one I'm going to talk about is the last one on page 147. You get tough like me and you don't get hurt. You look out for yourself and nothing can touch you. So that's kind of like the greaser mantra, if you will. Greasers aren't really supposed to feel sad or anything like that. So you just toughen yourself up and you look out for yourself. But yeah, that's pretty much it. For those of you who haven't read it, I would really recommend it.
Yeah, it's really good. And I still quote like the "Stay golden, pony boy."
Stay golden, pony boy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's from there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's
I've
funny.
never heard that quote before.
Really?
Oh my
No.
goodness.
That's wild.
Do you want to go next or should I?
It doesn't matter. You can if you would like.
Okay, let me pull it up. Okay, so this is mine. I did The Lord of the Flies, the classic. I think everybody's read this.
Not me.
Really? That's
I honestly
crazy.
don't know if I have. I think I think I
Um,
know the gist of it, but
Yeah, so basically there's a plane that these British schoolboys are on and they get shot down and they land on a deserted island. And they try at first to be civil and everything, but they eventually lose it and start killing each other. And at the end of it, they are literally just going to murder each other. Yeah, so they're just losing their minds throughout it. Some of the themes, I guess, would be civilization versus savagery, with Golden kind of presents it as like the dichotomy within people. Like you want to be civil and you want to be good, but you also feel the urge to be violent and hurt others. And then the other was like the inherent evil of man. And he really pushed this because the message was really that everybody, no matter their age, has the potential to really hurt and kill people. And like he kind of showed this by having Simon be murdered by everybody, even the more civil members of their groups. One of the quotes for that would be Ralph wept for the end of innocence, the darkness of man's heart, and the fall through the air of the true wise friend called Piggy. He got murdered. So many people died in this, actually. But and one for the connection to civilization versus savagery, or civilization versus savagery, is we've got to have rules and obey them. After all, we're not savages. We're English, and the English are the best at everything. This is how the kind of start of the book, and then as it goes on, more and more people join the more savage side and are willing to hurt each other. I mean, they sacrifice a pig at one point and put the head on a stick. It's weird. The article I had was about the 1972 plane crash of like the soccer team where they landed in the mountains and eventually had to revert to cannibalism to survive. Don't ask. Yeah, so the first like line of it is like I'll forever remember that first slice. And just like they didn't want to, but they wanted to live so bad.
Ew,
which
gross.
I guess, yeah. But yeah, it was a weird book. I guess you could probably seem irrelevant for today is because you never really think you're going to be on a plane crash and land on a deserted island. And I guess it's hard to be completely deserted nowadays with technology. I guess a better way to push it would be like to make it people more aware of the like mental illnesses and everything as an angle to teach. Because I don't think people are going to be talking about wartime and plane crashes that normally, or ritual sacrifice. It's a weird book.
Would you recommend it for this age group?
Yes, it's really good with symbolism and everything. Symbolism and different themes, and they connect very well. Because Jack is established pretty early on as being more savage than Ralph, and they do that through like the colors of their hair, their actions, the words used to describe him. Like Jack is described as grunting and stuff, just to push the more savage angle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good book. Weird as can be, but that might just be because it's an older book.
I think when I was really, you just like unlocked like a core memory somehow. But I feel like when I was really, really little, there was a documentary about that plane crash story on the TV, and I remember hearing about that. So that kind of like brought me back to that. It's messed up.
Yeah. Stop mine.
Yeah, I think I read that now that like you like gave like the review of it. I definitely think I read that.
I read
And
it sophomore year.
yeah, I think it was like freshman or sophomore year. So it definitely wasn't in middle school. And I don't think I'd recommend it to middle schoolers just because it has like just like a dark theme behind it. But
Yeah, as soon as that came up with that theme, I thought about that plane crash.
I like
fits.
want to look it up, but I don't know if I want to look it up.
There's a Washington Post article about it, so it's probably not too graphic.
Right.
When did it happen again?
1972. I think it was like an Argentinian soccer team.
Dang, that's crazy. Okay.
What did you read?
Okay, so I read The Pigman.
Ooh.
Has anybody read it before?
No.
No. Okay. So this was about two friends, John and Lorraine, and they were trying to scam an old man out of $10, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in the time that this was written, I think it was. But anyway, so they were trying to pretend to be a local charity, and the man agrees to give them money to, but then like they go and get the money, and it kind of starts like an unusual friendship. Like they're there all the time. They begin to skip school to hang out with him, and his name is Mr. Pignotti. So that's like where they get Pigman, because then in one of his rooms he has like a bunch of ceramic pigs. Yeah. So then they grow attached to the old man and start hanging out and doing a variety of activities together, like going to the zoo and rollerblading. The old man really enjoys their company and grows fond of them. Let's see. Okay, so then when Mr. Pignotti buys them roller skates, they're like roller skating in the house, and it leads to Pignotti like almost having a heart attack. Like, so it kind of alludes to their friendship as like what killed him faster. But then while he's in the hospital, like the while he's in the hospital, the kids like pretend to be his kid. I don't know, it was super weird. And then but he gave them the keys, so then they got the keys and they threw like a party, and at the party like things started getting broken. And then because they thought that he was going to be in the hospital for another night, but of course, classic, he comes in while they're having the party and he's like heartbroken because you know, all of his stuff is getting destroyed. Let's see. But then like eventually he does die while at the zoo, and there's like a lot of like references because they always go to like the baboon cage. So there was like a lot of references to like the baboons being a representation of like John, Lorraine, and Mr. Pignotti. So there was like a lot of symbolism in this book. Overall, like it wasn't as dramatic as I thought like all of your guys' books were. Like it was pretty simple, but it kind of just had like underlying themes of like guilt and blame. So it kind of was like you know, let's see. So he has a lot of, so they have like a lot of guilt after trying to scam the old man for money. So this can be seen on page 131, like with you shouldn't have gone up the stairs with the roller skates on that like Mr. Pignotti bought for them. And then the cops at the end, when they see like all of his stuff destroyed, the cops are the ones that say to the kids like he's crying. If you really want to know, the old guy's crying. So it's kind of like circles back to just like caring about other people's things a little bit. The theme of deception. So they pretend to be someone else, like to even the point where Mr. Pinotti's like giving them wine every time they come over, which I'm like, how do you not know that they're children? But it's okay. And then like quotes of just like, because it's wrong to take money from an old man. And then it also has like the theme of friendship, like that you can find friendship in unexpected places, because obviously the kids, they weren't like best friends, but like throughout the novel, like they became best friends. And then with Mr. Pignotti, who's like an old man, they became friends with him. I think that this could be implemented into the classroom by having students write letters to a nursing home or a hospital as a pen pal. By actually writing to a nursing home, it could like help their writing skills, as well as they might make like a friendship with like an older person. Also keeps like the older people happy. Yeah, that was my book. It wasn't like boring, but it wasn't anything crazy.
I get that.
Something I noticed that kind of connected yours to mine. Yours was about a pig man. Mine revolved around pigs on the island. And the animal they sacrificed and stuck on a stake was a pig.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, because probably around that time.
Maybe so it was something about the era.
Or I wonder if like maybe like a Chinese reference, like the year of the pig. Like I wonder if it was something crazy like that.
Yeah, this was like World War II-ish, World War I, sometime around then.
That is interesting.
Okay, so now going into part 2. So examining the origins and elements of young adult literature. So the discussion question is, how do your novels fit or not fit the criteria above? So the main character is a teenage. We could like go through each one and then just like say if it applies to your book. The main character is a teenager who is the center of the plot. No, not for mine.
Yes, for mine. Ponyboy's 14.
I think the most of mines were 12 and under for mine.
Mine were kids.
I think mine would apply. I can't remember if they were, I think they're like freshmen in high school. Like I think so.
Do you think it's like more beneficial to have like students reading about kids their age, or do you think it just like doesn't matter if they're children or adults?
I think it's based more on the subject material.
Yeah,
like the age of the characters I would read never really had an impact on how I would feel about them when I would read.
But it also could too, though, because if like a 7th grader is reading about someone in 4th grade, they're like, well, I'm older than this, so I don't know. Like,
yeah.
But I feel like at like our age, like it doesn't matter what the age range is.
All right. The protagonist's actions and decisions are major factors in the plot's outcome.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so for mine as well.
Definitely for mine too, yeah.
The events and problems in the plot are related to teenagers. Not for mine.
No.
Yeah, for mine, like literally everyone's a teenager in the book.
I would say yes and no, just because of the old man dying. Like there was like a outlier, but
especially because these books are like I don't even, what are they called?
Classics.
Yeah, like the classics. Like I wouldn't expect like some of the stories like teenagers to be able to relate to now, just because they are like older books. But that's interesting, like Zach, what you like, and Taylor, how you guys still think teens can relate.
I don't think mine you can relate to too much.
No.
It's the pig sacrifice, I think.
The events and problems in the plot are related to teenagers. We said that. The dialogue reflects their speech.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, the point of, sorry, were you gonna say something?
It was a little more introspective, not as much speech as thinking. And when they did speak, though, it was definitely their speech.
Interesting. The point of view is that of an adolescent and reflects an adolescent's interpretation of events and people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think an adult would devolve to murder as quickly.
Yeah.
It probably eventually, but not as quickly.
Or maybe they've got years of pent-up anger that they're waiting to get rid of.
But they were only there for like a week or two before they were killing each other.
Okay, so next she has like an assertion from Terry
Lesesne?
Lesesne, yeah. I can read it. From its earliest incarcerations, YA literature has suffered from a misconception that is somehow less literacy than real literature. Junior novel, teen lit, adolescent book, even these early terms from the literature carry negative connotations. I think those folks who would denigrate, I don't know what that is, using YA literature fail to see that oh my gosh, why am I dyslexic right now? See that has structure, style, and substance. It is worth of scrutiny in the classroom. I don't know why that was so difficult for me to read.
I get
I
it.
was like reading it as you were reading, and I was fumbling myself. So that was
Yeah, I was at the same pace. You're fine.
Thanks. Okay, so how might your novels support this assertion? I need to like read this again.
Yeah,
in my head.
I need to.
Oh, basically, she's just saying that YA is literature and not what people say it is, not less than.
Mhm. Yeah, like people think YA literature is like simplified and not as
In depth.
in depth or academic. Well, how am I here? Well, I just think like with like my book, like the themes were so prominent and like very mature for this age group. So I think it definitely goes against this assertion that like YA literature shouldn't be really taken seriously because like the themes were very serious.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Like, just and sometimes like the issues that middle schoolers are going through aren't as big as the issues as adults are going through, so we tend to like look down on them and like kind of laugh at them for dealing with it, but to them they're real problems. So like, even if like the major ideas or major themes of the book might have like a childish theme to it, it doesn't necessarily mean that nothing is being gained from it.
Just because they're not adult problems
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're not
Yeah.
problems.
Mhm.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Why do you think YA literature emerged as distinct from books written for adults?
We kind of touched on this a few weeks ago. We said that because it's considered for kids, it's not taken as seriously, so it can be more distinct,
Yeah,
more
definitely.
specialized.
Mhm.
I also feel like too, it can deal with more relatable topics to
Mhm.
children than to adults.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, I feel like as like an adult, obviously like you're worried about friendship and stuff like that, but I feel like as a child you're more worried about friendship than anything else. Like to you
Mhm.
that's your entire world, then as you're like an adult you're like, well, I got bills to pay, I don't really have time to go out. Like,
Yeah.
so
How did your book fit the needs of adolescents at the time? My book does not like fit needs of adolescents.
Yeah. I guess morality was really a focus in the early,
Mhm.
whenever this
Mhm.
was, I don't know, 40s. Yeah, so I guess they really focused on morality and developing good morals.
Mhm. Mine, I guess, goes along with that too.
I'd say mine goes with like Taylor said, like the need for like friendship and unity and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like mine's kind of like kindness too. I don't know. I'm really trying to like think about that. Like I'm sure that there's probably some like deeper meaning that I'm missing, but I feel like at the core it's just like being kind and not trying
Yeah.
to scam your friends.
Yeah.
Most of these were probably written what, post World War II, World War One.
Mhm.
So I guess they were focused on redeveloping as a society and adjusting to a post-war world.
That's true. Why is it important to choose literature that mirrors the adolescent world? Just so it's more relatable for them
Mhm.
and they can make connections. Okay. One criticism of YA Lit is that it lacks sophistication and literary merit. How or does your book support or contradict this criticism? This is basically like what we just talked about.
I'd say it definitely contradicts it.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
And then how does it compare to classic adult novels? I don't know, like, were all your books like, could an adult still read it and like learn something from it, do you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if learn anything from it, but I mean, they would definitely enjoy it. I mean, it's not like designed just for children.
Yeah. Um, okay, and then last one of the problems with continuing to read the classic is that the further we get from them in time, the more irrelevant they are to teens. If you have to choose this novel, what are some universal themes your novel brings up? Well, we kind of talked about that.
It's just morality, really, was our
Mhm.
focus.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Morals are always something to think about.
hmm what are some current titles that could be paired with your novel?
Beauty Queens.
Mhm.
It's basically a plane full of beauty pageant contestants that land on a deserted island. And what
That's
that'd be like.
amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
didn't you tell, like, did you tell us about it like last week?
Maybe.
Yeah, that I remember because I was so like, I would love to read that to see if they survive.
And I guess it's kind of like Lost too.
Yeah.
So you could cut scenes from that into your teaching of Lord of the Flies.
Mhm.
I'd have to like think about titles.
Mhm.
I can't come up with something like right off the top of my head. I'd like have to sit down and think about it.
Mine like covers a lot, like obviously about race, and so immediately I just thought like the book Brown Girl Dreaming. I don't know if you've read that, but it's just like a girl who moves from Ohio, which is more like inclusive, versus Alabama or South Carolina, where it's very like racist, and she just experiences it. So that was what I would probably connect it with.
I honestly don't know. Like I'm trying to think of
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Oh, one that would go good with yours, Natalie's The Glory Field.
I don't know that
I think
book.
I read it in 8th grade. It's a Walter Dean Myers one, but it's starts from a family, like the first member of the family who's kidnapped and sold into slavery, and then it moves up until like recent times, and it follows that family line.
That does sound very interesting.
I'd say a book that could relate to mine is, I don't have a title, but like just anything with the themes that share with my book, you know, like the
Mhm.
wealth and like group A versus group B or something like that. Something with a theme like that would go well with it.
Yeah.
West
this
Side
isn't a
Story.
book, but I feel like the Queen's Gambit could almost have like a kind of a correlation because she's friends with like the janitor who's older and like teaches her stuff, but then
Mhm.
um and then also too like the scene where she like is buying cigarettes for her mom and like they let her, and it just seems like there was such like a court like kind of like with certain
Mhm.
scenes that there would be, but
I love the Queen's Gambit.
so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
if we're talking TV shows or not TV shows, there's a movie that can relate to it. Really, have you guys ever heard of The Warriors? About all those
Oh yeah.
gangs that they literally go meet up and just beat each other up. Yeah, it's pretty much that. So I feel like The Warriors and The Outsiders kind of go hand in hand in that regard.
Yeah. What are some current social issues that could be connected to your novel? For me, like the Black Lives Matter movement, definitely.
Definitely the wealth inequality for mine.
hmm
It's probably more prominent now than it was when the book was written too. So
Yeah.
The ACAB movement for mine. Morality.
Mhm. Maybe like this is so like kind of dumb, but how there seems to always be like a war between like the generations. Like it's always like Gen Z versus millennial or millennials versus the boomers or like but just how, you know,
The
you can
disconnect.
yes, the disconnect, but also that you can still kind of learn from each other. So
Mhm. No, that's a good connection. And then how would you teach these?
Well, like I said for mine earlier, maybe have a topic on like morality and mental health, because there's probably something going on if they devolve so quickly like that. Maybe something about how isolation
mhm.
does things to people.
Mhm.
And then symbolism, obviously, because it's a very symbol heavy book.
I think I would like start with like introductory videos or TED Talks and articles that cover like racism before they read the book, just so they have some prior knowledge in it.
Is that it? Did we get to the end?
I
Yeah.
think
Oh
so.
my.
Yeah.
That was
Exciting. Mm-mm.
How long was this one? Does it say?
We're at like
38 on
38
my-
minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
38. Solid.
perfect.
Okay. What's like the agenda for next week? What's the challenge?
I don't know, but I managed to paint my nails during this. Looks really cute.
I always
Okay.
do that in museums.
I could tell what you were painting, but I couldn't tell if you were painting your nails or if
Yeah,
you were
they're
like
blue.
painting.
I saw you blowing on them. I was like,
Yeah.
I really wasn't sure. That's amazing.
I broke a few, so I needed paint over them. So it looks less ugly. Yeah, they're blue with this pretty icy one.
Cute.
Can I click week 7? It doesn't look like there's anything up for week 7 about asynchronous challenge.
Yeah.
Exploring contemporary times. Oh,
Oh, wait, no.
vlog?
Wait, are we at week 6? It's week 6 that we're on.
Yeah, exploring contemporary
Okay.
times.
A vlog. I don't want you guys to watch my vlog. It's gonna be embarrassing.
Exactly.
wait, where are you guys seeing a vlog?
6.
Week 6.
So are we all reading the same book?
No, you have to
You
choose your
find
own
a
book.
random book. It has been published since 2017.
What the hell?
I don't like this. Oh, I'm gonna have to do it on my phone.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna make a vlog, but that's
Yeah, I
I'll
don't know
figure
how to
that
do
out.
videos.
I'm just gonna be like, hey.
On the iPhone.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I don't know like what topic I want to choose.
Google YA body image book.
Oh, that's good.
So that's what I did, and I got the book called
2017.
Good Enough, and I don't have it by me right now, but I'm in the middle of reading it. It's actually really good. So
Huh. Oh wait, yeah, it gives you bullying. Oh, maybe I'll do bullying. And then research and read a book.
I guess conserving the environment. You think Greta Thunberg has written a novel yet?
She definitely will within the next like 2 years or so if she hasn't.
Mm-hmm. I'm watching this like vlog.
Wait, what is this? Yeah, I'm about to check this out.
Good morning, Hank. It's Tuesday. I still have a mustache
think
because
you
of a
could hear me.
project.
Oh my god.
I haven't watched anything from the Green Brothers in forever.